a playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Torry, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I am so glad you're here. Sometimes I want to start the show being like, hey, friends and foes, but then I'm like, well, none of you are probably my foes. So I'm like, I don't. Sometimes I literally even want to do that at work. But I really do want to say, hey, Petty Betties. I really think that that's what we should name the RTBP community. Let me know what you think. I'm, just doing a soft launch of the Petty Betties. But if I should do a hard launch with some merch or something, like slide into those DMs and let me know. Anyways, I have a super fun, jam-packed episode with friend of the pod, Dana. But before we get to it, I want to say, join Patreon. We have been doing 3 weeks of Patreon, which if you don't know is a paid subscription to get a bonus episode per week, as well as access to our Discord community. Discord is kind of like Slack. It's just like a fun channel that listeners, patrons, friends of the pod, like past guests, etc., can all chat and share gossip. It was a wild time when the Try Guys shit broke. Let me tell you that. I was thriving. But yeah, you can join Patreon, www.patreon.com/RTBP podcast. And like I said before, we have 3 episodes out now. One with Sophie from Unpaid Emotional Labor, one from Carly. She's been on the show a bunch of times. And then one with singer-songwriter Kenzie Cates. And then we're talking about After the Altar, hot takes, and Taylor Swift's feuds and songs. And this week, I am covering the Bling Ring Netflix documentary with Kelly Williams, aka Laguna Biatch, aka co-host of Beyond the Blinds. And I want to give a patron shout out to my very first patron, Haley, a fellow Canadian. Haley, you're so funny. I'm so glad you always DM me like reels or like TikToks or memes or like stuff like that. And I'm just so glad you're part of the RTBP community. So thank you so much for joining Patreon. Last thing I want to cover before we dive into today's episode is you can still buy RTBP keychains. The link is in the episode show notes and the bios of my socials. But the cups are sold out right now. I will let you know if you were thinking about buying one. I'll let you know when they're back in stock. Okay. I was going to say friends. Okay, Petty Betties. Is that going to stick? I don't know. Let me know. Okay, Petty Betties. Let's get to today's episode. Here is my conversation with Dana. I'm back with a very special guest. Dana is here. Dana, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. We recently moved, and by recently, I mean 2 days ago. And as a fun fact, we moved into Torry's building.
Yeah.
So while we are recording on Zoom, we are really approximately 5 floors apart.
Yeah, it was funny because I feel like the first question you asked me, well, like not about the move, but when you had actually moved, was like, oh, are we gonna like record in person? And I was like, honestly, no.
Honestly, no. Tori's like, I have one mic and we're not sharing it.
Because remember we used to record in person?
And we used to sit shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, like literally fighting over the mic.
I think it produced some good content, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, someday.
Scrappy.
Yeah. Let's just, someday I want to get back to that, but I just would have to figure out, no one gives a fuck about this, but the
technical aspect of recording with 2 mics?
Yeah, like you need like a mixer. I don't know if people know what a mixer is, but like you just need I don't know. It's just too technical for me. Like even just getting these podcasts out is a feat. So
yeah, I thought this was a bold turnaround. We're recording in the morning, and you're releasing this episode this evening.
Yeah, and like, whoops. Well, I thought I was gonna do a solo pod, and I thought I was gonna record it this weekend. I didn't know.
And then I demanded to be here.
That, but also I just didn't know that I would be a fucking zombie for the past 3 days. And like when I texted you last night to reschedule, I immediately fell asleep. Mm-hmm. So I slept from 7 till 10 p.m. and then I was awake for an hour, and then I slept from 11 to 5 a.m. So, which we're going to get into later in the pod. So I don't need to bore people with these details, but yeah, a hot turnaround time for like a pod with a guest, but it's a day off today. So I've got nothing but time.
Nothing but time.
Mm-hmm. So last time you were on, we talked about camping.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, camping season's over. But like, I guess not, because it's hot out and you're like loving this heat.
I'm in a rage that it is still hot in October.
Okay, but like...
I'm in an absolute... I'm going to rampage. Like, I am unwell.
Okay, so I started putting out some Halloween decorations and like, fall stuff yesterday, and I was like, this doesn't feel right since I'm in shorts, but then it's also like I don't care because it's staving off my seasonal depression.
See, I've told you this before. I may have talked about this on the pod before, but I believe that I have reverse seasonal depression.
Yeah. Tell the listeners about that.
I am depressed in the summer because it's too hot and I'm uncomfortable, and it's too much pressure constantly, where I feel like I got this from. I feel like we as a generation got this from our parents, where it was like, make the most of the good weather, get outside, you only have a few days, you better make the most of it. And then I just have this internal monologue all summer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not making the most of it. Whereas, like, I become free in October.
I feel that too.
Usually September when it starts to rain.
Yeah. Like, that part of it I get, because I do definitely have the summer guilt. And then in the fall and winter, it's like, I can be who I authentically want to be, which is a person lying in my bed watching TV and, like, on TikTok. But, like, still, like... It's still nice.
It was like 25 degrees yesterday for our American listeners, like 70s to 80s, like low 90s vibes in the past few weeks. It's been wild.
Yeah, that quick conversion, damn.
Oh, I'm an expert now due to my working relationship with U.S. folks.
Yeah, okay.
And their refusal to adapt to the 21st century, 20th century probably at that point.
I'm laughing because I have so many U.S. friends like through the podcast and stuff. And I'm the one that blatantly refuses to change to... As you should.
It's honestly inappropriate that the United States... But on brand, I guess.
Yeah, truly.
The inability to
make any change. Yeah. We just lost all the listeners.
On that dark
note. Let's get into today's episode. We have a packed agenda. Because I was away on vacation, I've been saving these topics. So I feel like it's like a juicy one. But we're going to talk about the Try Guys drama. We're going to talk about High School Musical, the series, new casting announcements. We're going to talk about the Kardashians. Tons going on there as per usual. We're going to nominate Pettyweight Champions of the Week and then wrap up with This Week in Petty. So, first off, I want to say, I feel like I almost willed the Try Guys cheating scandal into existence.
I really hate that 2 weeks ago on the podcast.
Yes,
you were like,
that's what I'm
saying. The Try Guys are my like comfort millennial show. And I was like, it's weird that Tori's talking about this because I feel like no one ever talks about the Try Guys. I hope nothing bad happens.
That's what I'm fucking talking about. I've hosted this podcast for 4 years. I've never mentioned like anything related to the Try Guys. I mention it once, and then a week later the news breaks that Ned is a cheating bastard.
I will fully place the blame on you.
Okay.
And this is the reason I demanded to come on this podcast, because I am Tori's Try Guy expert, I've deemed myself.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know if this is embarrassing. I feel like it's fine. I am a very big Try Guys fan. Like, had merch.
Yeah.
I listened to every single podcast, including Ned and Ariel's baby podcast, even though I do not have a baby.
I know. I was like, okay, that might be the embarrassing part. Everything else I think is fine.
I listen to all the content.
Yeah.
I watch all the videos.
Yeah.
I know all of the cast of characters at the office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will say, we were prepping to move. Everything was very stressful. Our cat has had some health concerns recently that she has recovered from. And then I'm, in the bathroom scrolling on my phone, and I see a TikTok. This is breaking news. This is when I found out. This was my 9/11. Is that inappropriate? Probably. Where were you when the news broke?
Yeah.
And I'm watching this TikTok, and it's like, I'm unwell. I just found out that one of the Try Guys cheated. And I was like, what?
Who did you think it was? Did you immediately go to Ned?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Would that not have been your guess?
No, it would have been. Yeah, I don't think it would be Keith. I don't think it would be Zach. I don't really know Eugene and his partner's relationship too much, so
seems very stable.
Okay,
based on my parasocial relationship with these people. Yeah, and I went to tell Champ.
Ned, but
yeah.
Anyways,
I mean, Ned has always been our least favorite Try Guy, though.
Mm-hmm. One hundo. I think it's everybody's.
But I went to tell Champ, and I was like, "This is what's happening." And he was like, well, let's take a look at the Reddit. And I typically avoid the Reddit because the partners on You Can Sit With Us have talked about how bad the Reddit makes them feel and how upsetting it is. So I don't engage with that content because I support them.
Yeah, okay.
And I went there and I was floored.
Yeah, same. I think okay, you mentioned this a little bit about the parasocial relationship, but I think that is the point, that's why it's so shocking, is because they definitely felt like every guy is because, okay, so let's just talk about a little bit. So the Try Guys, if people don't know, even though I feel like people know, they were a group of video producers and personalities at Buzzfeed in the early 2010s, which is where I found them. They're a group of guys that try things. They'll try baking something without a recipe. They'll try skydiving. They'll just try things that they've never done before. And they broke out from BuzzFeed. They had really great success. I think a lot of the people from the early 2010s BuzzFeed days had really good success. And, a lot has come out about, the problematic workplace of BuzzFeed, etc. But the Try Guys had a solid, I think they have 3 million subscribers or something like that. Solid.
And a loyal 3 million subscribers.
Yes, totally. Because it's not the type of people, it's those diamonds in the rough, Emma Chamberlain, where it's she is not the biggest YouTube creator, nor will she ever be. But her audience of 8 million or whatever are Emma stans.
Yeah, as opposed to traditional influencers or YouTube personalities, I do actually feel like I know them, even with, I think, increased media literacy that's, coming in this day and age. I felt / still feel like I know them.
Yeah. Well, that's the other piece about their stint at BuzzFeed and then their subsequent YouTube channel and then all of the other things that they do on the side. They've written a book, produced a TV show.
Which I own.
Yeah, oh my God, so funny. Have podcasts like you mentioned, et cetera, had a live show, all of this stuff. But a lot of it is sharing personal stuff. And I think that's another difference between people. I use Emma Chamberlain as an example just because she's one of the only other YouTubers I follow. But she would share so much. She would just be sitting in her car talking about her life. So it's you really feel like you know them. And I feel like the Try Guys did that. Nothing really seemed off the table. They would share about their relationships, their kids, all of that stuff. And
homes.
Yeah, their homes, dating, all of that stuff. And other influencers might not do that or might do it, but with a shiny veneer, like do it in a fake way where they're just showing like, oh, I'm making my morning coffee, but it's like all like aesthetic and stuff. Like they just literally showed their lives, or at least it seemed that way. So yeah, I totally get why.
Well, maybe they showed too much of their lives
as it came to be. So as everyone knows, there was a video of Ned and one of their producers, Alexandria, making out in a club in New York, and a fan caught it and sent it right to the guys and to Ariel, it seems like.
And to Alex's fiance.
Yes, of 10 years. And then it just kind of spiraled around then. That was like around Labor Day, so about a month ago. And then all of this kind of blew up like a week ago, I guess, 2 weeks ago. So they had been dealing with it for like a few weeks before the world had really found out. But yeah, it's brought up a lot of conversations about consent, workplace relationships, because Ned was a co-owner of the company because, again, with their YouTube channel, they owned a full company, like full production company called Second Try. And it's really just spiraled from there. So the video was sent to like the real like participants in this story, but then it like leaked online, right? And then it started just like lots of conversations on Reddit started, and then people...
Well, I think it's interesting because the video got posted, and I think people had noticed that Ned had not been in videos.
Yes.
And I would say this is something they've done like over the past few years since they started the company. In their Buzzfeed days, it was always the four of them. But as they explore new projects and I think try to develop a work-life balance, like sometimes one of them would be missing. But it wasn't ever Ned, which was interesting.
That's actually a good point.
People really focused on that.
That's a really good point, because usually it would be honestly Keith or Eugene, because they have like Keith as Lou Berger and Eugene is, I feel like, actually
involved in lots of other projects.
Yeah, like I feel like Eugene has a level of fame that's surpassed the Try Guys.
He's like a B-list and they're still C.
Yeah, 100%.
Or now he's A and they're B at this point.
Yeah, like he had a cameo on like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and like
he went to the Met Gala.
Yeah, like he's just surpassed kind of this like YouTube fame.
Have you watched the videos of them, like fans finding the like edited versions, like where Ned is, and piecing together the backgrounds?
Yes.
And
so
it's wild.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yes. That's why I like actually have like, I used to want to be like low key famous, and now I like literally would rather not, because you really can't get away with anything, which again is in most cases really good, because it holds people accountable when they've done shitty things or are doing shitty things. But there's like some pieces that I'm like, the absolute microscope that you're under because a bunch of internet sleuths, which like I love and like reap the benefits of all of their work, but like
I never would have seen it.
Like, yeah, I know 100%. Like even all of like the Taylor Swift conspiracies and stuff like that. Yeah. Like I'm not the bitch putting those things together or like analyzing frame by frame a YouTube video and like spotting stuff, but like I definitely love that content. Like I remember, I don't know why I'm talking about Emma Chamberlain so much, but like when there was rumors she was dating Ethan Dolan, and there was a YouTube video in her house, and someone like froze the frame, zoomed in on tiny Polaroid pictures that were hung up on her wall, and was like, this looks like the hoodie that Ethan wore on like October 12th, 1999. Like 2019. Like it's just, it's absurd. Like it's a level of panopticon that I wouldn't want to experience. I don't know if I'm using that term right, but do you know what that is?
I don't know.
It's like a philosophical theory that like basically you act like you're always being watched, and social media and like Be Real and all of that has just really, you know, exacerbated that. Because like panopticon is like when there's, I think it was like, I don't know, like prisons or something like that in the way back, where there's like a tower with the security in the middle and then all the jail cells around it. So it's like you feel like you're constantly being watched, but you can make parallels to social media, etc. nowadays. And I just feel like that level of always feeling like you're being watched is something I could never withstand.
Well, and apparently it doesn't matter, because even if you are a famous person, you're still making out with your employee in a club in New York.
Yeah, I think that that's the other piece.
The gall.
That's the other piece, is like the fucking audacity to be a relatively famous person. Like, he on his personal Instagram has like 2 million followers. It's like to be in fucking New York City.
To go to a Harry Styles concert.
Yeah.
Where arguably a lot of that fan base will overlap.
Yes.
And take photos with fans at that event.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and apparently the bar that they were making out in Niagara, or the club or whatever, is like a popular club. Like, it's not like, I'm sure, some like dive bar on the yeah, I was just gonna say. Like, where you at? Like, yeah, like it's not like a small venue in fucking Minnesota or something like that. Like, you're literally at like a really like big club. So okay, this is what I wanted to ask you, is like, because they were so blatant about it, like, do you think that everyone knew, or do you think like do you think Ariel knew? Do you think the other Try Guys knew? Do you think that Alexandria is the first person Ned's had a extramarital affair with? Like, Jesus. Yeah, it is.
The relationship, it seems like, has been going on for a long time, because this originally came to light apparently in December of 2021, where Ariel and Will were sent messages that they had hooked up on a work trip. My understanding of this situation, which is obviously service level, was that my guess would be that they said it was a one-time thing and just ended it there, and they didn't bring it to the Try Guys.
Right.
I don't know if this was Ned's first extramarital affair. I assume no, but it could be. I don't think that the Try Guys knew in a way that would make them like action upon it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's almost like willful blindness.
Interesting.
Where it's like, something weird is happening, but you know, you're just going on with your day to day, and like all of these guys are busy and, you know, doing their own projects, and Zach and Maggie are planning their wedding, and you know, Keith is on tour, and they just did this Food Network show, and I imagine it's just like one of those things where your brain is like, huh, weird, and you just move past it.
Yeah, totally.
Because based on their response, especially pre like this going absolutely viral, and that's just like based on the podcast episode that they released about like the actions that they had taken before this, I honestly don't believe that they would brush something under the rug that involved like a complicated consent dynamic between an employee and their boss.
Okay, follow-up questions. Do you think that they knew that okay, so say he was cheating on Ariel with other people, not Alexandria, do you think they would have turned a blind eye to that, and they only started looking because it's an employee?
I think it's hard to imagine for me that, you know, Keith knows that Ned is cheating. Keith does not tell Becky, his wife, or tells Becky, and Becky does not tell her then friend Ariel.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the piece of this as well, is yes, all of these like guys owned a company together, but all of their partners work for said company, and they are like frequently going on vacation, going to Mexico, going to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
They're eating dinner at each other's houses. Like, I don't think you can. I hope that morally they would not be able to keep that information to themselves if they're then hanging out with Ariel and her children on a near day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be my hope.
And then my other follow-up question is, when the partners, Ariel and Will, right?
Yes.
Received messages from fans, do you think, like, okay, so like when you have an account, like my RTBP account, I think this is the same with personal accounts, but like,
I can confirm. Let's
yeah, where you have multiple inboxes. Mm-hmm. So like
and you have like your request folder.
Yeah, like, so for example, like sometimes people will message me, but like I don't follow them on RTVP or whatever, and like so it'll go into a different folder, and it's like sometimes I just won't see those for like a few days or whatever, and it's like I get like one or two. So if you're getting like hundreds of messages and they're going into another folder, a lot of people just like don't open them. So like, do you think that that's a possibility?
I think it's absolutely a possibility, especially for Ariel, because she's spoken to on the podcast where people will message her like mean things.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, you talked over everyone in the podcast episode. You were annoying in this video. And she's like, I just don't read them. So I imagine she's not looking at that frequently.
Totally.
And she also does have 2 small children, where it's just like your capacity is, I think it's very easy that people could have been messaging her and she wasn't even clicking into a request inbox.
Yeah, and we talked about this too, about like how they could go out for lunch dates and stuff like that, and it'd be like, oh, well, we're just planning a video, or like,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah, this is a working lunch, whatever. And it is kind of the weird part about where friendship and work relationships blur, because yeah, you're splitting hotel rooms and you're doing things that you normally wouldn't do with like the average coworker. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit maybe about like what's happened since.
Sure.
So a lot of the Try Guys and like their colleagues from Second Try, like Miles, etc., have posted like jokes or like comments about this situation. And then a lot of people are pulling video clips like of Ned saying stuff and like it looking shady. Some of it I'm like, hey, that's a reach. But some of it I'm like, not great. Like, what do you think about their, not even just like the Try Guys specific response, but like the internet's response to this, or like the other employees?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I've been trying to imagine what it would be like to be, Miles, Rachel, Rainey in this situation where you work at this company and it's like a relatively low-key situation, and then all of a sudden you are a viral material.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? They made a comment to, Miles was talking about this because they did like an all-staff meeting where essentially the guys were like, Ned is not appearing in any videos, and they couldn't give any context. And all these employees went to essentially the podcast studio to talk after this meeting. And I remember doing this with Torry after meetings at our old workplace, where it's like something wild happens, and then you go into this room and you're like, what is actually going on?
100%.
And I think it's one of those things where I'm sure people were flooding their inboxes, being like, what's going on? Do you have a comment? What are your thoughts? Blah, blah, blah. And I think specifically Miles is an unhinged comedian, and I wouldn't read too much into it that they're like new or are trying to like capitalize on this or something like that. It just like doesn't seem like the vibe to me.
Yeah, I'm going like back and forth. So I listened to the episode their podcast episode that they discussed this about, and then I've read their tweets. I've seen some of their TikToks and like stuff like that. And I feel like, and like, I probably would feel like this too. So it's like no shade, but like, I feel like they're a little stoked on this.
I think it's like making the most of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And I think like Zach on the podcast did comment on this and said that like their content views and like interactions has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And you know, there are benefits to that.
Yeah.
But he did also say that he was talking about how other YouTubers will make their career out of this. And to me it almost sounded like, you know, you get the high of the spikes after the controversy, and then everything will go back to normal. So then you're looking to create those spikes again.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, based on what Zach said, they're not interested in doing that. But I do definitely think that, do you capitalize on something that has almost effectively like destroyed the trajectory of your company?
Yeah, it's so tough because I feel like people don't understand the weight of this. Like, he was a co-owner. He is one of the 4 personalities. He, again, was there since day one. And then we talked about like the friendship aspect of it. Like, I don't think people understand how like intricate this is. But yeah, it's interesting how they're like, there was huge, like Rolling Stone picked this up, Variety, like tons of huge publications that would have, again, never known these like kind of C-list YouTubers.
Mm-hmm. I think it's one of those things where we are saying they make YouTube videos, but arguably the quality of the content is television worthy.
100%. Also, the length and stuff, like it's not like they're making an 8-minute YouTube video. They're making like 45-minute to like hour videos. Like, I remember this one time, it was like a Friday night, and I don't know, you messaged me or something. You're like, I'm eating pizza and watching Keith's eat the menu, and then
Domino's.
Yes, and then I sent you a picture, and I was eating pizza and eating something and watching Eat the Menu, which is just so fucking funny.
It's like in our television show rotation, essentially.
Yeah, because they're hours long.
This is the big thing too, is they do a series called Without a Recipe, where they bake and cook various things. It's excellent. It's like cinnamon buns without a recipe, and they do this typically every like summer and holiday season. So they've already shot all of the content for essentially their biggest videos of the year.
Yeah.
And I think like the financial and like just like editing time that it's going to take is, you know, if you want to capitalize on and get a few tweets in there, like
you're right.
I think they might deserve it.
Yeah, that's fair. Because also it's like, I like downloaded their podcast and listened to it, and then I'm not gonna lie, it was like an hour long, and there was like 4 ads or something like that. So I'm like, you're definitely making like probably tens of thousands of dollars just on this episode. But you're right, they'll probably lose a bunch, just trying to figure out like.
Well, and now their entire editing staff does not have capacity to do other things because they're having to edit Ned out of all of these videos.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you watched the one they released on Saturday, them auditioning for Broadway.
No.
It is, if you had not told me that Ned was supposed to be there, would not.
I don't know how they fucking do that. Like,
They've pulled one clip where you can see his face, like just like the edge of his nose past Keith's face, and that is apparently the only clip they've been able to.
It's insane. Like, I think Zach said this in the podcast episode, like, we have world-class editors and producers. It's like, they literally do, because it's like fucking Game of Thrones has left like water bottles in scenes. Like,
yes, that's a great point.
Like, it literally, like, they are correct. So yeah, that's absolutely wild. Okay, last thing we should talk about with the Try Guys before moving on. They were parodied on SNL. So again, really making it like mainstream. But it was so fucking problematic. So like, I was so excited. So I just saw a screenshot of the video. And it's like Bowen Yang in like the perfect Eugene.
He did a great Eugene, I will say that.
Such a good Eugene. Like the way I literally can't remember the other two actors' names. So, but like whatever, but like comedians. I know the guy in the middle has been there for like a really long time.
Is one of them Mikey Day?
I have no idea.
Champ, where are you at, bro?
Like, I have no fucking idea because Champ's a big SNL guy, but like I'm occasional. I'm just in the lore because my parents love it, but
yeah, I watch because Champ watches.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's very hit or miss. And I was like, the way that the costume department nailed like everything and just like it was so perfect. So I just saw the screenshot, message obviously the RTBB Discord first, and was like, everybody watch this. And then I went back and watched it. It was so fucking bad, and it could have been so funny and good, and they just screwed it up so much. So basically, if you haven't watched it, it is their What Happened video where Eugene's pissed and then Zach and Keith are like crying, and but they did it. The parody was that news reporters were asking them questions when they were on the same couch setup, and it puts Ned in such a good light. It basically shames the other three for like firing him and like posting about it. I just don't know how. Well, okay, I didn't know how.
We do know how.
I didn't know how at the time they would get away with this, / how the actors would want to be a part of this, because what I'm assuming is that they didn't know really what happened and they were just...
It's interesting though, because like Bowen Yang specifically is credited as a writer on the sketch as well.
No, is he? That's so disappointing because I love him so much and I love Las Culturistas.
Me too.
And
Champ was saying that sometimes they can be credited for just like a line or a joke or something like that. So
right.
My wishful hope is that is the case.
Yeah. And like SNL writers, but also like the actors, like comedians or whatever, like they learn the entire show in 1 week and stuff like that. So like I don't think like maybe all of them were like keeping up with the ins and outs of this story per se this week. Sure. But it was just so disappointed. And I was like, how could they get away with this? They missed the point so bad. Like, yeah, basically making fun of the guys.
It's like, oh, we're upset because our friend kissed somebody and didn't tell us.
Yeah, and it's like, no, they took swift action against someone who had an unconsensual workplace relationship with a subordinate.
Do we want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think I've had a lot of conversations where people are like, but did she get promoted because of it? Because if she didn't get promoted, then it's fine.
No, that's not how it works. Like, my definition of consent, and I think that this is a consensus around most people, is that you cannot give consent when there's a power dynamic where someone can hold things over you. So like skipping you over for a raise, firing you, your work reputation,
your livelihood, ability to provide yourself with basic needs.
Yes, your references if you decided to quit. Like any of that stuff makes it non-consensual. So I just like it's brought up a conversation about like, can you have like, oh, well, Alexandria is an adult and stuff like that. And it's like, I just don't think that's how that works. It was also like a white guy with like a woman of color. And like, I don't know. I just would say no, that's not consensual.
And I would agree with you. And I did appreciate that the Try Guys also said no.
Yeah, 100%. And they took swift action. And then SNL was like, no, they're just being like pissy because he like did something like and didn't tell them. And it was just such a bad look. So I was like, how the fuck did they get away with this? Like, most of their social commentary is like usually good. Again, not a super follower. And then Becky, like Keith's wife, one of the Try Guys' wives, posted on Twitter because the Try Guys also didn't know that this was coming and they were shocked.
It's actually, before you get into Becky's tweet too, it's
Yeah.
actually so sad because they've talked like all the time about like how they would want to be on SNL and if they could host and what that would look like. And Zach was on as a child in some kind of like choir thing situation. And it's just like, it's so sad. But
Yeah, that now they're getting like made fun of on like such a national platform.
and for something that they should not be made fun of for.
I know. And like, because I would say they think of themselves as comedians as well. And they don't do sketch comedy, but like they kind of do in like in their videos. So yeah, I could see why the people at SNL would be like, you know, seen as like aspirational. And then for them to like not get a heads up is like so heartbreaking. And then Becky is like, I remembered that Ned went to Yale with one of the SNL writers. And then everyone's like, oh my God, I bet that's what happened. And then yesterday it was confirmed that this friend, Steven something, was one of the writers. Brutal.
It's just like where there's smoke, there's fire. It's like if it seems too Ned propaganda-y, there's probably a reason, and we got it. Just freaking guys looking out for guys.
Honestly, I am so shocked because I feel like the discourse, there's been, weird stuff about the consensual the consensualness of this relationship. But I feel like the other discourse has generally been like, Ned fucked up, the Try Guys seemingly handled it well, and we're like almost shocked that men could act this like swift and not try to like cover up their friends' bad behavior, because that's kind of like something that they usually do. And just to see this was just wild to me. So yeah, it's definitely Ned propaganda.
Or anti-Ned propaganda.
Yes. Last thing before we move on, where do you think Ned goes from here? Like, does he stay with Ariel? Does he, launch his own YouTube channel? Does he just kind of like quietly disappear for a year and then...
Well, it's interesting because we saw the staged paparazzi run-in.
That actually made
and we
me
haven't
throw
heard
up.
from them since.
Yeah, that was, I think, really received poorly. So there was like, I don't know, like a TMZ paparazzi video of them entering their car. It was clearly they called it on themselves because the Try Guys have never been on like popped before. And one of the people there was like, Ariel, are you like working on things? And she's like, yeah, we're working on things.
Well, she said we're working on things.
But like, what does that mean? And like, why did...
I think that's the point, is like, we're not supposed to know.
But like, why did they like... I guess they're just
because
living
Ned
their lives.
Because Ned is a fucking narcissistic monster, probably. Where it's like, if you watch the video too, he like is getting into their Tesla.
Yeah.
I would like to say. He's getting into the car, and as he's getting in, the paparazzi man...
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the proper term.
Yeah.
Asked him another question, and Ned gets out of the car to answer the question again.
Yeah, like it's... As a person that watches a lot of paparazzi videos, like it was
the worst of the worst.
100%.
Like, I don't know if they, like, whoever their PR person is should have been fired.
Yeah.
I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know if he's going to post like a response video or like what this looks like for him. I don't know if Ariel will stay with him. I think it's probably a very hard decision when they have like a 5 and 2.5-year-old. I think that's a hard thing to reconcile. But Ariel, if you hear this, we support you.
Yeah.
And if you need anything, reach out to our TVC.
Yeah, literally. Okay, let's move on. High School Musical, the musical, the series, dropped a bomb on us. Not quite a Try Guys bomb, like, but exciting nonetheless. Lucas Grabeel, who played Ryan. Casey Stroh, who played Martha, ?
Correct.
Yes. Corbin Blue, Chad Danforth, thank you. Monique Coleman, Taylor Kessy, ? Bart Johnson, Coach
Bolton.
Coach Bolton.
What is this, amateur hour? Are we playing charades? What's happening?
Allison Reed, Miss Darbus.
What I will say is on Tori's outline, the only person that she has put their character beside is Miss Darbus. And I was like, oh, this must mean she knows the rest of them. As we can see, that is not the case.
Okay, I would say basically the only one I didn't get was Casey Stroh, and who honestly...
And also Bart Johnson.
Well, I said Coach, so like...
I'm the Coach guy in the, in the movies.
And no one was going to remember Martha. No offense.
That's rude. I'll remember you forever, Martha.
But they are not coming back. Some of them are coming back, but some of them are entering the cast of season 4 of High School Musical, the musical of the series. Lucas Grabeel, Casey Stroh, Corbin Blue have all had minor roles in season 3. And I think Lucas and Casey were in even season 1. But like Monique, Bart, and Allison coming back is like fucking huge.
It's wild.
It's wild.
It's a very meta concept too.
Yes, and they're definitely doing like, have you watched season 3?
Yes.
Yeah, they're definitely,
unfortunately.
Yeah, like fucking same. It was literally a fever dream. Like if you've ever had a fever dream, like it was High School Musical, the musical, the series, season 3. But they're coming back. Season 3, a few of them were back. And we're like, okay, this is getting meta. They're making jokes about the series. They've obviously gone in a different direction because they probably had to rewrite the storyline after Olivia Rodrigo left, clearly. And where could they go from here? Well, season 4, they are going to be covering High School Musical 3.
That's the production they're doing.
Yes, which is weird because it was barely a production.
Fair enough.
And it's because it's the cast's senior year. And they are back at East High working on this production, and the OG cast, Monique, Corbin, etc., are coming because they are filming High School Musical 4, The Reunion.
The movie.
It's too much.
I'm very interested to see how these episodes play out because I do think season 3 was hard to watch.
Season 2 was hard to watch.
Yeah,
like, okay. I feel like I should write this down for another Patreon exclusive hot take episode. But, like, my hot take is that season 1 and the entire concept of HSM, TM, TS is fucking brilliant. And the way that they just absolutely dove headfirst into terrible television was kind of iconic, honestly. Like
it's like so bad it's good can't be situation now.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're basically winking at the camera in certain scenes.
So we saw Vanessa Hudgens and Zac Efron both at East High, photographed, posted to their personal accounts.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I think it means that they are also back, but for very...
Oh, you think it'll be like Olivia Rodrigo season 3 where she's in the show?
Yes.
But all of her scenes are filmed by herself or with people excluding the main cast?
Yeah, yes. 100%.
Do you think they'll be in a scene together then?
No. Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
And
this, we'll put it in the Instagram.
Yes.
Yes or no. Do you think they'll film a scene together?
Typing that into the outline. But like, I don't think they will because they dated.
I think it's just like, I want it too bad to be pessimistic about this. I'm manifesting it.
Honestly, with the way that
the way you manifested the Try Guys downfall.
the thing is I feel like the way that Zach and Vanessa's careers are going, I feel like if they were offered enough money, they would do a scene together. And, like, maybe they're like, okay, well, we're not going to commit to being, like, even recurring guests, like, fucking.
But, like, to do one scene together?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's like, okay, we're not going to be, like, Miss Starbus. Sorry, no one's calling her nowadays.
They're not going to homeroom to sit in their homeroom again?
Like, maybe they do. Maybe they're like, okay, we can't be reoccurring characters because this is, like, beneath us at this point, but we will film, like, a quick 1-minute scene. And, like, maybe they do it together because they did post those pictures within, like, a week of each other or something. But I don't know. I kind of just see, like, envisioned, like, Zach having, like, a scene with Ricky and then Vanessa with Nene. But it's, like, obviously that's not going to happen. So
I hate that. I don't want them to have scenes with each other. I don't care about Ricky.
Yeah, honestly.
Also, just a side tangent.
Yeah.
I saw a post or a photo. I don't know. Champ showed me something of Joshua Bassett on his, like, actual Instagram. And it is insane to me how old he looks there and how they can young him down for the show.
I know.
It blew me away.
I know.
I was shocked.
I know, because I see his TikToks every once in a while too, and, like, I'm like, oh, your jaw's, like, angular and you're, like, muscly and, like, kind of a man, and, like, in the show you look like a
he looks like
virgin
a boy.
Freak.
Okay. Well, that's aggressive. But yeah, definitely like a child.
100%. I will say I like him and Gina together.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, like, that was, like, actually, like, a pretty good pivot. It reminded me of Buffy when Angel left the TV show and then she got together with Spike. Not that I was, like, pro Spike, but it was just like, you have sold us on Angel for 3 seasons now, and for us to just, like, pivot to Spike is, like, wild. And, like, I thought they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
Okay, let's move on to the Kardashians because there's a lot going on there. Kim was recently fined $1.3 million for promoting crypto on her Instagram and not revealing that it was an ad. She was paid $250K to post this on her fucking stories, I think.
$250K. It's like, what are you doing?
That's more money that I'll probably see in my entire lifetime.
Well, it's not, because
you know what I'm saying.
yearly salaries.
Well,
You'll get it.
You know what I'm saying.
At one time, for sure.
Yeah.
Unless you win the lottery.
Yeah, and I just am LOLing because it's like, you are doing these cash grabby schemes, like these loop giveaways and promoting
the weird, like, bag photo.
Like,
what is that?
That's a scam. That's straight up a scam. It's where people have to, I think, like, purchase something to be entered into the contest, and then they just, like, never do the winner, like, never do the draw. So I don't know. I'm just like, this serves you right for being super cash grabby when you already have a fucking $1 billion.
It's insane to me. It's like, don't you think if you made that much money,
you would never see me again?
Yeah, like, I would never do anything again.
No. I would
plant a nice garden, watch TV, and swim in my nice pool.
Yes, and travel and eat really good food. Like,
yeah.
Truly, it fucking blows my mind. And she just won't stop. Like, she just won't ever stop.
Well, she's got her ass up and worked, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess just we just don't have it in us.
I don't. I will not get my ass up at work.
I'm calling this her next scam, even though maybe technically it's not a scam. But Skin by Kim released bathroom accessories like, you know, a toothbrush holder, a garbage can, a Kleenex box. And
oh, is that why she did that video of putting the Kleenex is in the box?
Yes.
Because she's selling that Kleenex box.
Yes, it's basically poured concrete. It's poured concrete. And also, I want to just say, I'm going to do a little visual here. Just for you, Dana, because no way I would post this on. Like, we're both in our pajamas. This is the fucking Poosh Sage diffuser that I bought, which is insane. And it also just looks like poured concrete, and I hate it.
What I will say is if you want a concrete tissue box, you could probably, I guess maybe this is inaccessible to some people, but you could probably just build the mold and pour the concrete for
$100.
A fraction of the cost.
You could 100% get like the fucking fake cement shit from Michael's and make your own. And it's just ugly. It's plain ugly.
It fits in her like weird murder house, but no one else is home.
No one else is home. The scam of it all is that it's $355 if you want to buy the entire set. Yeah.
Oh, my jaw's on the floor.
Yeah, $355 fucking dollars. And yeah, it's ugly. It looks like the Flintstones, or for a deep cut, if you ever played Neopets.
I love
Neopets. We really should get accounts again. Like,
that's fun.
Yeah, I really think this fall we should get accounts.
Okay, cool.
But if you ever were on Neopets and you made like a stone house and got stone furniture, this is exactly what it looked like.
Yeah. So you will be purchasing. This is on your Christmas list, I heard?
Yeah. Yeah, if you think all this IKEA furniture behind me is going to be upended for a $55 bathroom set.
And that's US dollars.
Yes.
So
like 600 Canadian
plus shipping.
Yeah,
that thing's got to be heavy.
Yeah. Costs $200 to ship.
We are out on. We're now dragons. We're out on the concrete.
Yes.
Kleenex box.
Yes. 100%. Next, Kourtney on Not Skinny But Not Fat, the podcast that is just now a Kardashian
propaganda.
Yes, a Kardashian propaganda. They're like, Ellen, we can't go on Ellen anymore.
It's like
we'll go on Amanda Hirsch's podcast.
It's like that other one, Alex, is that her name?
Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, where it's just like, here are your low ball questions.
100%. Here is a list of pre-approved questions and things we can talk about. And let's just get some voice clips.
These are the millennial or the Gen Z late night shows.
Yes. Okay, that's a good analogy. 100%. Brilliant marketing strategy for them because it's like, I'm not watching.
It seems.
Yes, it seems authentic, and I'm not watching a late night show. But I would listen to a podcast.
Yeah, it decreases the barrier for entry because podcasts are available everywhere and you can listen to them essentially whenever. It's the same.
If you don't have tons of media literacy, you would just take this at face value. But not us. They didn't pull one over on us.
Not us. Never.
So Kourtney was on. She is the last of the Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe trifecta to go on Amanda's podcast. She said some interesting things. She said she has no idea Scott will appear on season 2 of the Kardashians.
My hope is no. And let me tell you, is Kris Jenner has made Tristan now the, have you talked to Tristan? His team's going to the playoffs. Like, aren't you happy for him? It's like, Kris, take your fucking daughter's side. What the fuck?
She never will. She fucking never will.
It makes my soul sad.
Me too. And you're right. I should have canceled Scott like fucking 15 years ago, but for some reason gave him a pass because he was funny.
I know.
And it's probably a good thing, but I'm like, also, aren't the Kardashians like executive producers? So like you should probably fucking know if a main cast member is not going to be on the show.
But do you think Kourtney knows? Yeah. She's an executive cast or executive producer in the way that she can nix storylines about herself. Not that she actually cares about what's happening on the show.
That's a good point because it's like she was probably like, well, Pete was up until 10 minutes ago, but now he's not on it anymore. So,
but Kim's still talking about him.
Oh my God, I know. And it's like, but
in the like flashback world we're in, apparently.
Yes, but it's like, that's so classic of them. They're like, okay, well, we'll give you this crumb because otherwise you, the audience, will rage, but like, we'll never give you what you actually want, which is like the content that they filmed.
I want Pete doing a sit down interview,
Yes.
voiceover, whatever they do.
Yes.
I truly hope that I do not have to see Scott grace my television again.
Honestly,
I can't.
Yeah.
It's like, I will whine about Kourtney and Travis. Like, you have no right to do that.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. If I ever want a Scott, I don't know, nostalgic walking down memory lane, I can watch old seasons of the Kardashians.
100%. That man deserves to make no more money off these people.
True. She also shared that her and Travis don't live together. And I was like, remember last season when you went house hunting for like 4 fucking episodes? So I guess that was just a sham.
Well, it's just so they can make out on other people's patio furniture. Disgusting.
I was like, you think we're dumb? Like, now we just know that that was a fake storyline, or like you just didn't tie it up, being like, we looked at houses.
We didn't find anything that we loved.
Yeah.
We're gonna stay where we are.
Yeah, like we've got teens and like young children. We thought for their like schedules and stuff like that, since we live on the same block, it would just be easier to like not cohabitate. Like, it just, I don't know. The loose strings, like, if I can see a loose string, then like you're not doing a good job. An article came out. I shared this on RTBP's Instagram. An article, I think a Buzzfeed article, came out about how the Kardashians exploit the like girls in their family versus the boys. Specifically talking about like North Chicago P versus like
Stormy.
Stormy, true, versus Saint and Rain and Mason, etc. And I thought this was really interesting. So my take is that it kind of reminds me of the royal family, but obviously different genders, where it's like royal families were like, okay, we need an heir, so we need a boy.
Right.
Like,
But
yeah.
yeah.
To carry on
an order of succession.
to carry on the throne or whatever, the crown or whatever. Mm-hmm. Where I feel like the family is like, we need the girls to carry on the brand because we primarily market to women. So that was my, I don't know, kind of take on it. But I was listening to the Say Bible podcast, and they had 2 really good points. They said, A, they're just better at marketing girls. Like, I think they really struggled with Rob and Scott. Like, they had, like, he has a hot sauce line and he has the sock line. And, like, that also might just be, like, his disinterest in, being famous and having, like, a business. But, like, Scott had that renovation TV show and, like, just, like, random shit man. Where I feel like the girls, like, the women have been more consistent. But then they also were sharing, which I thought was really poignant, that the women see the girls as an extension of themselves and therefore their brand. So like Kylie just included Stormy in a TikTok, and it's like, of course, because that's her mini-me. That's an extension of the Kylie Jenner brand. And I was like, I kind of like agree with all of this. What do you think? Like, do you think that they overexploit the girls, or do you just think that like P and North wanted a TikTok, but like Mason doesn't, or like stuff like that?
I think it's probably like a little of column A, a little of column B.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm sure that they do want these things that, the other like kids in their classes are doing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like probably one of those things too, where it's like, oh, your mom is going to New York for Fashion Week. Like, are you going? Like, that's so cool. Blah, blah, blah.
True.
Kid social hierarchy stuff. But then I also think, like, are they the same as essentially all of these other, like, family TikToker YouTubers that exist out in the world that are capitalizing off their children?
Like, you think it's like, oh, well, Mason's not going to pull in the numbers, but Stormy's cute, like, cooking videos with Kylie will, so they're just going to favor, like, not favor, but...
And I think it's probably one of those things, too, where it's like, Mason is now, he's got to be, like, what, a teenager?
I think he's, like, 13.
Where it's like, he's not going to want to hang out with his mom.
Right. The younger ones are easily, like...
carted around.
Yeah. Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think maybe some of it's intentional or happens because of just their careers so far. But you're right. Like, some of it, I think, just happens naturally. Because, like, even when they have gone on shows like The Ellen Show, like, they bring out Saint and, like, Psalm and Rain and stuff, too. So the boys might also be just, like, a little bit less easy to, like, rein into. Like, I remember when Kim was doing a live driving in New York and she had, I think it was Psalm and Saint, and they were just, like, yelling, and they were, like, talking about, like, buy us Legos and, like, stuff like that, where, like, I feel like P isn't gonna do that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like interesting as well, you know, with like gender norms in families like this, where especially where the parents are split up, I think you often see like the girls navigate more toward their mother and the boys like navigate more toward their father.
Yeah.
And that might be playing a role in this as well.
Yeah. Also, I feel like in some of these like big, super traditional families, they just expect the girls to like work,
be obedient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
to do the things that they tell them to do.
Exactly. And like in us normies' lives, that might be like helping out around the house or with child rearing or whatever. But in famous people, it's probably like video content creation.
Video. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
That's so fucking like ugly. I don't even want to think about that. There was a viral TikTok recently where someone looked up all of Kylie Jenner's trademarks and the name Kristen, Kristan, was trademarked by Miss Kylie Jenner. And people were saying, did we crack the code on Wolf's real name?
Well, do you think it's like Christian? Like Christian?
So my theory, and I actually haven't seen this online, but like I'm sure it is because it's not a super original theory, is that it is Kristen Webster, but written with a K and an A to make it like more masculine, because that's Kylie's middle name is Kristen.
Yeah, it is interesting. But I wonder, do you think they've started to just like trademarking things to like throw people off the scent?
Just because they're rich enough and they fucking can. I don't doubt that. Like, I don't doubt that because people, they didn't respond to this or like they weren't like, you got us or whatever. But
do you think this is Kylie's revenge that she couldn't control the announcement of this pregnancy? She's now
controlling the name,
like lording over us the baby's name.
Is that because you think that like she so tried to control like her first pregnancy?
Yeah.
So two things. I think yes, she clearly with her kids, like, which is again fair enough, likes to have the power about sharing news, and like okay, that's fair. That's probably up to the parents. The second thing I'll say is, like, sometimes I think the Kardashians drag out a storyline because they don't want to talk about other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Not saying it's about Astroworld. I feel like now something happens and everyone's like, it's to cover up Astroworld, which, like, maybe it fucking is. But I do think that it's, like, Kylie clearly doesn't want to be a part of the TV show or really do much of anything, it seems. So it's like, well, let's just talk about the baby's name, every interview, every scene on the Kardashians, etc. That will be your bit for this season.
I hope that by the end of the season we get the name. Otherwise, I'm going to be enraged.
Yeah. And it is a new tactic for her to, because typically the old school way of finding out a celebrity's baby name was to look up the public records, like the birth announcement.
But because she named
it
the baby Wolf,
people
and won't change its name.
Yes, legally, like they did dupe us on that for sure. So, do you want to talk about any of these other ones? Khloe's Photoshop.
I will say you've been posting a lot recently. It's like, oh, Khloe's outfit. This is Kim's old outfit. But do you think it's like a sustainability move? It's like,
no.
oh.
Like, I fucking wish.
It's like, look at us recycling fashion.
Yeah, I fucking wish it was, because Kate Middleton does that and gets like praised heavily for being like the only princess to ever
wear an outfit twice,
which is a fucking joke. But no, I think that Khloe is copying Kim's looks because Kim is, again, the fucking prototype. And I think that Khloe's personality has been washed away and like picked at over the years. So she like doesn't have one. So she just kind of leans on things that Kim.
Oh, that's so sad. Now I'm just sad again.
It's so sad. Like she leans on Kim stuff. And then the second thing I'll say is now she's skinny. So now she has access to things like the Met Gala and to Balenciaga, and like now designers will dress her because she's skinny. And so I think that there's like two pieces to it, whereas like she's wearing, like I posted where she was wearing the Balenciaga like tights that are boots with the big sunglasses, and I thought that was Kim. And it's like, no, she's just being dressed because she's like finally like skinny.
Oh, Khloe.
I know.
I think Khloe just needs to, cut the ties, run good American. And again, I think this is what we were saying. It's like, just like have a nice life. Like
have a nice life. Like she has gone through so much.
Like this is too much.
100%. It's too much. And that's why I think she's a shell of a human being. And she was involved in another Photoshop scandal where she posted a picture of her where her tummy was clearly edited. The walls were warped, etc. And it was like an impossibly skinny waist. And then she quickly took it down and reposted one that was less edited. And then everyone obviously started talking about it. And then she went on Twitter.
And she was like, LOL, don't know how that happened.
She was like, could have been my glam team. Like, show me the receipts. And it's like, Khloe, just stop. Like, just stop everything. Just, you should disappear like Taylor Swift did and then come back in a year as
in your rep
era. Like, please.
Speaking of rep era, the last thing that I'll say about the Try Guys is they posted, this is the only reason I'm here, they posted their video on Saturday and the title was in all lowercase.
Okay, I was gonna say that because so was their video.
What happened?
Yes,
and the
podcast. And then I looked at their other podcast episodes and they were all capitalized like sentence case.
Yes.
So that is fucking wild.
I think they're in their rep era.
They're in their rep era. That's iconic. I love that if they're doing that on purpose. Yeah, that's a good catch. If that was something that's not talked about online, like that's a good fucking catch and a good theory. Okay. Let's finally move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week, and then we can wrap up with This Week in Petty. So this is the part of the show where Dana is going to nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Dana, who are you nominating this week?
My Pettyweight Champion of the Week will be Becky Habersberger, Keith's wife from the Try Guys.
Is that how you say his last name?
Habersberger?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, feel free to also to message me any Try Guys questions. Happy to answer. I'm also on the Discord.
Yes,
so
hit us up.
Pop them over there.
Yeah.
I will say that her tweets are so relatable to me because I think that Becky is similar to me in the way that, like, if you wrong someone that I love, you are dead to me. And I think the way she's tweeting about Ned's friend writing the SNL sketch without ever saying Ned's name is iconic. I think too, she posted a TikTok essentially calling out BuzzFeed people for capitalizing on this situation. And I think that that is just like so petty, but so appropriate. And I thought she's just out here tweeting and TikToking the things that we need from her. And I respect that.
Yeah, her responses have definitely been my favorite out of all of the, not sub characters, but like recurring cast members of this TV show. And I loved when Eugene stitched it and was just like sipping wine because, yeah, it's just so true. And like, I do appreciate, like, I feel like I was a little bit negative about like them probably capitalizing on it, but you're right. Like, it's probably like, how can we make a really shitty situation a little bit better? But I do love how everyone is kind of responding in their own way. And what's like maybe healing for them, because sometimes that's a shady subtweet.
And I also think it's one of those situations where it's like people are asking these questions where it's like, did you know that your friend's husband was cheating on her and you didn't say anything? But you can't say anything because it's a legal situation and you can't be sued for defamation.
Yeah. And the other piece, and we didn't really talk about this, but on the podcast episode, they really talked about how like they felt like their life's work was going to be besmirched.
Tainted.
Yeah, tainted by this scandal and how shitty and out of control that felt. And so to take a little bit of control back and like kind of share your message, which is I wasn't involved and didn't know about this, I think is
and
good.
I am mad.
Yeah. You can tell Eugene and Becky cope with anger, and then the rest of them are just like down bad sad, like so sad. Yeah, so fucking funny. Okay, I want to actually nominate someone this week. It is Kaitlyn Stead. Have you seen this?
I don't think so.
Okay, love this. Okay, so basically she is a beautiful bride who was stood up at the altar.
Oh, ghosted.
Yes, like fully ghosted.
Wild.
And she decided to, I think she lives in the UK. She decided to go forward with the wedding. And, her story went viral. And I just thought it was so fucking cool and so petty. So I read a few articles and like the main points are like just, for traditional weddings, you don't talk to the groom or the bride or whoever you're marrying the night before the wedding. So she was like, Nothing's wrong. We promised not to see each other or talk before the wedding. And then she's like, and then, like you go to bed and then hair and makeup starts at like 6:30 a.m. So I'm in the fucking makeup chair. I'm not looking at my phone or something like that.
I just got full body chills, I will say.
I know. It is just so vulnerable. And like, obviously it's so much better that he dipped before they were married and then had to like divorce.
But it's like, my God.
I know. It's like, please, like
before the wedding.
I know.
The betrayal.
Oh. It's so fucking brutal. Like it's
good for her.
It's so brutal. But she decided, she was like, I put my life savings into this, which is like already really eek.
Yeah. In this economy.
Yeah. I was like, okay, girl. But she went out to do the full wedding. So she did the entrance, she did a sparkler walk, she did the first dance. She ended up punching the wedding cake instead of doing like a cake cut. She did all the pictures with her bridal party. Her first dance, this actually like got me emotional, was with all of her groomsmen and her dad.
Oh, I got more chills.
I know.
That's so sad.
It's so sad, but like she's in these pictures, she said she cried, but she like looks happy. They're beautiful. Like, okay, and everyone is just like going along with it. Like, I would be the bitch in the corner being like, fuck, like this is so fucking weird. Like, what are we doing? But like, it seems like everyone just was like, no, we're gonna make this day like awesome, for her, and like I really think that they did that.
So did he text one of the groomsmen? Like, did they get confirmation that he was not coming?
Yeah,
And like,
and then
because I would be like, oh, he fell down and he's
dead. That's the only option, because no
in no world
would I get stood up. Anyways, groomsmen contacted like the maid of honor, and then I think actually the mother of the groom ended up telling her, like, and she was crying, so obviously she knew that this was like so fucked up. But the last thing I'll say about this,
imagine that's your deadbeat son.
Yeah,
and you have to go tell
this
woman
this
that
is what
he's a
Ned
fucking
Fulmer's mom is feeling right now.
I can't even get into the Try Guys again, but it's like, how do you tell your parents that you're human garbage?
I don't know. I fucking don't know. Last thing, I don't want to say this to you because I feel like you're gonna react poorly to it. but
they got back together?
No, oh my god, fuck no. She said, I'd always dreamed of dancing with my dad at my wedding. He's 71. I always had a fear he and my mom wouldn't be at my wedding, so I always wanted to have a dance with him. So she was like, I wanted to go on with the day because, like, who knows if he would be at my next wedding, if she has another wedding. I know. I didn't want to say this. Dana's crying.
That's so sad.
I know.
That's so sad.
I'm laughing because I don't want to cry, but yeah.
Poor gal. I'm glad she got those memories and those photos then.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's finally wrap up with This Week in Petty. This is where I'm going to share something that I'm petty about this week that happened in my real life. So, as everyone knows, because I've been fucking annoying about it, I was on vacation to Europe. It was super fun. Spoiler alert, I'm going to do a small Oktoberfest bonus episode with my cousins who I went with, just because there was some funny things that happened. But there was two things. Actually, there was so many petty things that happened to me on this trip. And petty, I meant just like poor travel things that I'm petty about. But there's two things that really stand out to me. So I was in Vienna. At this point, I was solo. After I went to Munich, I went to Austria by myself. I'm poor. I'm not like super poor, but like I'm not Europe hotel rich. And so I stayed in hostels. And honestly, I will say, because I feel like people have bad ideas about hostels, but like you don't have to get the ones that are like $7 per night and like flea-ridden party like cesspools.
Yeah, there's like a mid-range.
There's a mid-range one where you're paying like, say, like 30 euros a night and it's nice. I've had some that have been like nicer than hotels I've stayed at. You can also get ones that are just like 2 people and 4 people, and like that's not too bad. And just like the European hostel culture, like it's just good, especially if you're by yourself, because they often, you know, have activities like walking tours and breakfasts and bars and like pub crawls and stuff like that. Anyways, that's a rant for another day.
Torry is pro hostel before she is against hostels in this story.
Yes. So I'm in a hostel. It's a 4-person women's room, and it's my last night in Vienna. I have to leave for the airport at 5 a.m. So I go to bed at 9 p.m. I have to run a workshop that I scheduled in like fucking July or something like this that I couldn't get out of. So that was going to be at 1:30 a.m. Vienna time. I know. So this is where like I was dumb. So it's like my plan was I wake up, I go to bed at 9:30. I wake up at 1:30. I do the workshop for 2 hours, which leads us to 3:30. I go back to bed, wake up at 5, take the train to the airport. I'm like, that's fine.
Sure.
It's just one night, a bad sleep. What could go wrong? So I go to bed at 9:30. At this point, 2 bunks are empty, and it's me and this one girl that's already been there for a few nights. And she usually gets back at 10, brushes her teeth, goes to bed. Everything's good. like super polite, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets back. I kind of hear her. She steps into the shower, but I like doze back to sleep. And then 2 women come in and like turn on the lights and start speaking German at like full volume. But because I am still dead set on my plan, I'm like, go back to bed, go back to bed. So I like don't move. I have earplugs in. I'm like,
right.
Just
you got your sleep mask.
Yes. I'm like, just fucking rally. 15 minutes pass, 20 minutes pass. I still haven't fallen asleep. So I just roll over, planning on falling back asleep. And one of the women goes, hello, and like waves at me.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, hi, and then like fucking closed my eyes again.
You're like, bye.
Yeah, I was like, good night. So then she starts speaking to me in German. And I want to say, everyone told me before I went to Germany that everyone, and I guess I wasn't in Germany, so I don't know why I'm saying this, but everyone was like, everyone speaks English there. So I like, I don't know. I usually try harder with the languages, but like I was just being a fucking bitch. And so I was like, I don't speak German.
I mean, fair enough. You shouldn't be speaking to this person.
Yeah,
trying to sleep anyway. So I don't. And like, you're not in the wrong here.
And like, I've had really good hostel mates. Like, no one has ever been like egregiously like gross or
off the wall.
Yeah, inappropriate or anything like that. Usually, people are super polite, and I'm usually the annoying one. So, anyways, I'm like, I don't speak Deutsch. And then she's like, okay, I'll try in English. I'm old and kind of like, I'm going to sound like such a fucking see you next Tuesday because you should just accommodate this. But like, okay, so she was like,
you're already asleep.
So she's like,
it's a hostel. Go to sleep in the bed that's empty. Worry about it tomorrow. Tori's leaving.
Yeah, I don't think I said that the 2 beds that were empty were the above bunks.
I assumed at this point.
So she's like, I'm old and like I'm gonna have troubles navigating the ladders. I need to sleep on the bottom bunk. And I was like, okay, then in my head at this moment, I was like, then don't book a hostel. Then don't show up at fucking 10 p.m. Then when you book hostels, you get assigned a number. Ask for a low bunk, like ask for the bottom bunk.
Tell them your situation.
Yes, and then you'll show up and everything will be okay. And hostels, like I feel like they are just way more accommodating than hotels because there's just less rigidity. So anyways, I sit on my phone for like fucking 20 minutes steaming. They continue their conversation full volume. She starts putting her pillowcase on her pillow and she's doing it and she's taking like 20 minutes. So I'm like, there's no way I'm getting out of this. So I was like, I really like, I'm trying to go to bed. I have to wake up at 1:30 a.m. and then again at 5 a.m. Like, I'm really trying to sleep. And I can just tell that I'm not going to sleep. So I get up and I change beds.
Tori. Oh, no.
I know. So I changed beds and then I guess I fell asleep and then I woke up, I did the workshop and then, Did
you rattle the whole bed as you got up and down? Did you shake it with your whole body weight?
Did, but not even on purpose. It was just a rickety bunk bed. And then, this was the thing that killed me. So
did you turn all the lights on in the morning, though?
No.
At 5 a.m.?
I just used my iPhone's flashlight.
We're different people.
I guess maybe I'm not that petty. But I was like, also I want to be like accommodating. But like, anyways. So then do the workshop, go back to the room. I don't end up sleeping, but I just like lie there. And then I get up at 5 to leave for the airport. The audacity when I was like shining my light to like pack up my bags and she looked at me like pissed, like she was like and I was like, fuck you, like
I would have shown her ring her eyeballs.
So
good, I'm glad she was pissed.
So anyways, I get on my flight, all's well, transfer, end up in Calgary, Canada. One last leg till I get home to Victoria, BC.
It's a quick hour flight.
I couldn't be more stoked to get home just because even though I had a really good trip, it was really taxing too. Like, it was just a lot of travel and, you know, a lot of rain and whatever. Just, it's tiring. I'm in Calgary. I have a 2-hour layover. So I get there and it's like 4 p.m. their time. So I'm not eating or anything like that. I just go straight to the gate after I've gone through customs and sit down at the gate. And for the first hour, I'm just like on my phone, like whatever, texting you guys, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I move to a chair that's like kind of, it's not like
Angled.
Yes, it's angled.
In a pro sleeping kind of way.
Yes. And I sit down and I'm like, okay, my flight's now late. So they keep announcing like
15-minute delays.
Yeah, like delays, and they're like, you know, like who wants to check their bags? It's a full flight, like all of that shit. So I'm like, everything is like, it's all good. So I like close my eyes, but like every announcement, I open it, check. Oh, everyone's still waiting in line. Close my eyes. 1 hour later, I wake up. No one's there anymore.
This is insane to me.
No one's there. I fucking sprint to the gate attendant and I'm like, oh my fucking God, that's the flight that I'm on because the plane is still there.
Yeah, and they're like, doors are closed.
Doors are closed. There's nothing we can do about it. Go to this other gate to talk to the WestJet representative. I'm like, oh my fucking God. But then I was like, well, like, this is awful, but worst comes to worst. I know there's another. Did we say what the brand, the company this is?
You did say
okay,
WestJet.
because fuck you, WestJet. I fucking hate you and I'll never fly with you again. But I
think this might be user error.
Yeah.
There's usually like a 9 p.m. flight to Victoria.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, worst comes to worst. I get on the next plane because there's multiple trips. It's like a pretty frequent flight. Go down to customer service. They're like, ma'am, it was your fault and you booked a base fare, so you're shit out of luck. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They're like, well, we saw your flight that was from Dublin to, because that was where my connection was, to Calgary, like, got in on time, so there was no reason that you should have missed a flight. And I was like, so of course I burst out crying.
Of because that's the only appropriate reaction. I would have started crying immediately.
Yes. I thought I was like cool, calm, collected because I thought I was going to get on the next flight. So I burst out crying.
Right.
And they're like, oh, also, there's one more flight tonight and it's full. So there's no way that you're getting on this. So I walked down to the other comparator airline and I'm like, do you have any flights? They're like, it's full. And you can't buy from us. You have to buy from online. So anyways, I end up spending $350 on a new flight and close to $150 on a hotel because it was, again, 6 p.m. and I couldn't leave till the next morning. I was so sad, $500 down the drain for just like a little mistake falling asleep.
Ugh.
But honestly, I feel like sometimes I lose $5 or something like that, and I'm like Devo when I think about it for years. And this I like feel like I'm managing pretty well.
I think you get to a point when you're at the end of a trip and you're so desperate to get home that no amount of money seems unreasonable to do that.
You're like, I'm paying you thousands of dollars now.
You're just like, Ma, I'm out of luck, and it's like, Ma, I want to go to sleep and I'll wake up tomorrow and do this. What's an extra $500 and then I'll be home.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. It's the most money I've ever just had to fork up. But
I can't believe you fell asleep though.
I know. And like the thing that kills me is like I was right at the gate and I was like, okay, it says on your screen like missing Torry, female, probably my age, checked into the airport.
It's wild that no one was like, hey girl, you supposed to be on this flight?
Yeah, like you look like you could be a Torry. Like, yeah, and like they must have done the announcements, but I must have just been like fucking dead to the world because of my previous experiences.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really, it's this woman at this hostel's fault.
True. Like,
Not WestJet.
if we go back to it, yeah, it's.
I do think, I won't speak to, but like these like base fares that these airlines sell that are like, you pay $30 less and there's no, it's like, this is financial manipulation.
100%. And also, yes, manipulation, because I will never buy a base fare ever again. Because I also booked these flights and then realized it was a long weekend. It was like, oh, I can extend my trip by like fucking 4 days. I'm going to do that. And they did let me do that because of the base fare price. And it's like, yeah, you have now made it so difficult for me to live my life that now I will never buy base fare again.
It's also, it's like, they're like base fare, and it's like, that makes me feel like it's a discount airline price, you know? But it's not even like it's like $78. It's like, it's still fucking $500 or whatever it is.
Yeah, like my base fare from Austria back to Victoria was still like $550.
Yes.
Like, but
it's not like it's a freaking swoop flight that I paid $38 for.
Literally, and I was like, I was so pissed too. Like, I was, yeah, you're right. It wasn't Ryanair. I wasn't paying 20 euros to go like 3 countries over.
Yes.
Yeah. It killed me. And everything was just so perfect. Like, you know, I woke up on time, like walked to.
Your flights were all on time.
I know.
A rarity these days.
I know. Like, I got on the train and like everything was just perfect. I was scared because it was like early in the morning, but like tons of like it wasn't scary. Like everything was just perfect. And then yeah, that like ruined my life. Anyways, sound off in the comments if I'm a huge bitch for not giving up my bed to somebody.
And feel free to message us how much you hate Canadian Airlines
because
we're on board.
Yeah, they fucking suck. Oh my God. Okay, this was so much fun. Thanks for podcasting with me. Is there anything that you want to plug to the listeners?
You know, I'm on the Discord,
Yeah.
So if you want to come chat, I'll be there. I do have very specific interests. It's wild that one of my specific interests being the Try Guys really became public knowledge this week, and last week. Happy to chat more about it if you would like to do that. And yeah, that's about it. No personal projects at the moment.
Patreon.com/RTBP podcast.
Sign up.
Okay. Thanks for.
Tori's going to give me a sign up bonus if you sign up based on this episode.
Just like the bonus I'm hoping to get for you moving into my building. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Referral.
Yeah.
Resident referral.
Okay, thanks for coming on. And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Dana for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed it, you can follow me on socials at RTBP Podcast. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as you can join Patreon for more exclusive content, patreon.com/RTBP Podcast. Okay, folks, it's been a slice. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Torry, and I am ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.